It's served us well for 45 years, and if you think about what they originally paid, what was it, $2 million? We have way more than gotten our money's worth, and it's time now to reinvest. So, we can start right here with the lobby. So this is one of the first things that people see when they come in, and it's one of the things that a lot of people have said over the years that they would really like changed. It's really dark. The new design would call for this being opened up. There'd be glass here, so everybody who's in there working and everybody who's out here would all see each other. There'd be a entryway that could be separated. So if they decide at 9 o'clock they want the building shut down for visitors without being queued in, they can queue them in through that airlock. The plan calls for a set of stairs to be brought down from the second floor right here, and you can access the second floor right from the main lobby. This is what's called the large cafeteria, or the high school. They don't call it middle school. Large caf. So this is called the large cafeteria, and this is actually one of the nicer spaces in the school. It's got a lot of windows. 800 students come through here, give or take, for lunch every day. And we also have what is called the small cafeteria on the back side of this, and the kitchen is in the middle. And oftentimes, Carly could speak to this better than I can, but the word on the street is that students will be waiting here, out through here, for quite a length of time, and they only have 25 minutes?
It's like 23.
23.
It's very odd.
Very odd.
Short.
23 minutes for lunch, and they're spending maybe 5 to 10 minutes of that time waiting to actually get access to their lunch. The new design calls for the kitchen to be moved back into the small caf, and the kitchen space, this all becomes a larger cafeteria, and then the kitchen gets a bunch more space for students to go in and access the food in different areas, a la carte style, and then get them out quicker. So they're not waiting to come through just one little line, which is the current setup. It's very narrow. It's almost like a little cattle chute. Yeah, Mount Abe has a pretty short school day, so anything that takes away from that instructional time is not to our benefit. So the other thing, if you think about just in terms of efficiencies, if you move the kitchen back, they're no longer receiving deliveries and things on the side. Now that opens up the back side for, part of the plan is to have moved the custodial and the kitchen and some of these things to the back of the school, so that now all of that traffic and flow of deliveries and everything just comes through the back side. And it clears up this route along the side and for a lot of that stuff.
Oh, so the food comes in from back here and in?
No, right on the side of the building.
On the side of the building right now.
Yeah. So anytime they need to bring things in,
And
out,
custodial's actually in the front.
right in the very front.
And these windows are not functional, really. They open, but they don't allow any air in.
One of the big issues that the school board and administration identified is something they'd like to take care of in this renovation is these, what they call the temporary classrooms, which have become permanent. And as you can see, you have to leave the building, come outside, go up a ramp out here. There's no announcements out here, so they. Yeah, you can't.
Well, but we can't hear the PA.
Yeah, but if they said something, if they do a clear the halls drill
We have to
or
call
a fire,
physically on the phone to these buildings.
so it's a bit of a concern about how quickly you can access the people in these buildings. Students have to come out here in the winter, so now Reg or whoever the crew has to now maintain all of this walkway. It's a lot. Think about the man hours they're spending on this. So shoveling, salting, keeping this all clear. This would all come inside. Large, thick brown doors with no windows.
That's the theme of this whole school.
Yeah, it's very.
Outside is the same way.
It's very dark. So one community member had a really good phrase at one of the forums. It was "Get the brown out." So this is all custodial and nurse, and the plan calls for taking the library, which is buried in the back of the school, and bringing it right to the front. So when you come into the building, you're right next to the library, media centers, meeting spaces. This would be where students would be. The students would be hanging out in the library. They would have rooms next to it. They have the lobby right next to it. It would be a big communal space where students are. There's a lot of things that could happen here after 3 o'clock if we think about it. And that was one of the things that came out in the forums, was there needs to be more synergy between the community, the 5 town communities, and this building. So we'll just pop in here. Another recurring theme is the bathrooms. Hello! The bathrooms are pretty outdated. Pretty dilapidated in some sections, and this is not for lack of effort and maintenance, but it's just the way things have gotten to be. And with a renovation, you know, we could take care of cracked tiles, very, very aged floors that you can see. You probably wouldn't put in a floor with this many grout lines anymore ever again. It's impossible to clean. So, you know, sinks, you know, there's just everywhere in the building, there's things have just aged. Laminates pulling off, things worn down, rusty spots, things missing. And let me tell you right now, this place looks like our custodial staff is awesome. Here, I mean, look at the tiles above us. You know, they're just yellow. And they weren't originally supposed to, you know, they're supposed to be that color, which is, you know, like everything is really 45 years old. Which is not that old because I'm that old, but for a building that gets used with this much foot traffic and what we're trying to do here, it's old. All you have to do is look around the building. This stuff is everywhere. You know, peeling finishes, things coming off. So the pool, when you tell people that your high school has a pool, they're shocked because it is really, we're the only high school in the state that has one. And it's a bit of a blessing and a curse. The blessing is it's a fantastic resource for our students, for the community, for everybody. You know, every kid in the 5 towns has probably learned to swim here. The pool is in really pretty good shape. The plumbing is definitely going to have to be addressed. It's old, but the actual physicalness of the pool is in pretty good shape, and it is not really on the docket for a major retrofit, but the filtration systems and the plumbing systems would be upgraded and put where they need to be. Everybody wants this to stay, so that is in the plan. The hope is that with better locker rooms and better facilities and maybe better access, that maybe more people could be in here using the pool. So.
And there is a pretty substantial renovation that would happen to the locker rooms.
Yeah. So there's, you know, some things that jump out at you here is, you know, I mean, just we're looking at tiles that, you know, if this was your house, you'd take care of these things probably. We have pressure treated wood as our interior molding, which works, but it feels like it should be at an outdoor shower. The showers in here, I mean, just lots and lots of broken tile, lots of odd fixturing. The showers are pretty super antiquated pump systems. And quite honestly, I think the gang style shower is not what kids are looking for. The new plan would call for, even if you just had 2 or 3 showers that actually have a stall and a curtain, people would probably go in and use the showers. You know, even if the students don't, coaches could or adults could who are after their swim or before their swim be more apt to want to use these facilities. Here's the elevator. It is clearly not handicap compliant. Another issue is that it actually gets stuck a fair amount of time, and the fire department has to come over and do their magic. I'm not sure what they do, but they correct it.
They jump on the top.
And it would not be that fun to be stuck in there for 25, 45 minutes. So some of these things are non-negotiables. They have to happen, and that's why one of the things is, why are we doing this now? You know, and you know, is it a great time to ask for money? Well, there's never a great time to ask for money, right? But some of these things are going to have to be done. So the board recognizing that there was a sentiment from the community that it just needs a facelift and it's old and outdated and not as functional as it could be for students. There's also a punch list of things that are going to have to get done. If we marry all of those things together, we pay far less and get far more bang for our buck than trying to piecemeal them off one at a time and pay more in our budget and get what they call the gold tax. Here's the wood shop. This is one of the nice big spaces of the school. The current conceptual design calls for this to get moved toward the back, near the custodial. So, and they are near each other now because sometimes they might be sharing this space to do projects or do things or build things for each other. So the plan would be to move this back, and then the library would move into all of this space and over into this space, and you'd have some computer labs, media labs, library, all out in the front near where you enter the building. They could also still then use the back side for all of their materials to be brought in and out of the building the same way they can do it now with these big front doors.
This is where we go for gym.
Yeah, how many kids come in here at a time?
I think it's like a class of, little more than 20.
Yeah.
And currently, I think about three of the machines are broken.
So this is, yeah. But the equipment, as you can see, is really dilapidated. I mean, we have huge cuts and holes in the stuff. We have, I mean, the cables are broken.
That one doesn't work.
Yeah. Professionally, myself, I would probably not bring kids in here. Be way too risky. Perfectly fine large gym space, but it's the only gym space for the high school and the middle school. So we're one of the few buildings in the state that has a middle school and a high school with only just one gymnasium for the two of them. It's typical every single day to see kids running up and down the hallways, dribbling basketballs, running, and you can see these hallways. That's not really where you should be running or doing any of that.
For me is that some kids are starting practice at 6 a.m. just so they can get a gym spot.
Yeah.
And then they're supposed to learn all day.
So those kids are up at 5 in the morning, coming here, practicing for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then trying to go to school for the day. And then students are here until 10 o'clock at night also to get gym space. Or that I think is the original floor. Is that the original?
Yeah, I don't think you can say anything more.
I think it's done. It's done its life. So that's another one of those things that's going to have to be done regardless. So one of the things when you're talking about student management is you want things out in the open, and this is a pretty hidden space. You know, you've got a space here, which you have to have, but the kids have to come around from the front, around here, up and over, versus just coming right up in front, and if that was glassed, everybody can see all the movement. So all sorts of things can happen in stairwells, so you want to keep them as open as possible, as much as you can. Again, you know, we've got a lot of dated materials. When the building was originally designed, there was all these hallways that shot out to the outdoors. And they brought in, on the ground floor, they were exits and natural light. And on the upstairs, they were natural light that was coming in from the hallways. When we get upstairs, we can point out that almost all of them have been chopped up and turned into meeting space, office space, special education space. The original design of the building has even been chopped up to take away some of the natural light that originally had in a building that already had a pretty big lack of natural light. The plan is to go up to the roof and funnel in natural light through big, giant, large skylights and drop it down, so there'd be, potentially you'd be looking right to the sky in some of these spaces, and that would be flooding down in and going out into all the other hallways. The library, as you can see, is a space that doesn't have any natural light. So when the kids are in here working, the classrooms and office spaces on the outside there actually all have windows, but the students don't get any of it. They're blocked off from it. So the new plan would be that the students are the one accessing the natural light throughout the day. And a teacher's office that they don't have to be in all day would not have as much of the natural light. Does that make sense? So when a student's in class for an hour and a half or 6 hours of the day, they're going to be near windows or accessing natural light most of that time. So the library would get pushed to natural light. The classrooms would all get pushed to natural light. So that's part of the plan. Again, you see the big, super giant wooden heavy doors here. Again, you have to come into the library to access these spaces. You can access this classroom from the outside hallway, but to access this space, is this the only way through?
Yeah,
so,
this one and the ones in the back.
Yeah, so those rooms really have to be something that you have to be thoughtful of what you're doing there, because there's lack of access, or it's people cutting through the library to get in there and traffic flow. The thing that we haven't talked about is this building is not was not designed for Wi-Fi, because it didn't exist in 1969 or 70. And as you can see, we have turned corner after corner of brick hallway, and so the internet access is not as strong as it could be. Comments we get from students are, I just wait to go home because it's way easier, or I don't have access to technology or to the internet. I'll just go to the bakery and work during my free block because it's a nicer place to work than it is in here. You know, you hear them talk about trying to avoid using the bathrooms. Wait till they go home to use the bathrooms and things like that. So those are not things we really want students saying about where where they're
spending their days.
that they're trying to avoid bathrooms or they can't do their work there because of lack of technology or access. So this is one of the multiple science labs, and it's fairly dated. This is probably original, right? This is from 19. It was here. So this is 40. This is 40 years old, and it feels it. It feels it. No, those hoods don't work apparently. So there's a lot of things that would need to be upgraded in the science wing, and to get it up to where we would like it to be. You know, you probably would do away with most of this furniture that has backs on it, and just for bumping, and you want as little chance of accident happening as possible. The sinks and things are just weathered and past their prime. We no longer use gas on a main jet anymore, so you don't even need that. There's just a lot of things that aren't done, and you could restructure this room to get it where you want it to be for students to learn. Only way to get into that classroom is through this classroom. So kids coming in late, or they have to leave early, or if they have to go to the bathroom, or if they have to go to an appointment, they are cutting through this classroom every time. So there's basically been a shift in how the building is used. And I don't know if it was always designed this way, but the current setup is that there's a couple of these in the building where this is how it sets up. So you can also imagine in a fire drill or any situations where you're trying to move people quickly, these kids are moving right into it. I mean, there's clearly plenty of path. It's not unsafe, but it's just, you're in an ideal world, you don't have to cut through a room of students learning to get to your room of students learning. This is where the 69 building ends, and this is where the
New middle school will be.
the new, so this is what they call the middle school wing. That's not really the middle school wing,
Not at
but
all.
that was sort of the intent when it was built. But so we talked about that there was a gym and a remodeled lobby and a remodeled library in the plan where this came in, and it all got axed out. And this was the only thing that came, was these eight classrooms. The kids love it here. My kids who go here, this is where they want to be. It's air conditioned. You can just see, look at the hallway. It's bright, the floor's bright, the ceilings are white, the lighting's better. It's got, you know,
Windows in the doors.
there's windows in the door. It's like this, you know, just little things like this change the atmosphere. And you don't think that much of it, but you know, here's another thing that was done. You know, they didn't stop the window, they just moved up a little bit and allowed more natural light. So all of these things can happen in the new build where we open up the space and it's more welcoming, inviting, and you know, my kids talk about it. This is where they want to be in class.
So this is one of the 7th grade crew rooms, team rooms, and they get this giant space which is 2 classrooms, and then they have another classroom that shares a door there for them to use. But it's just a great example of creative use of space.
Are these walls still workable?
No. So they were
Yeah.
told they either had to be open or closed, and I asked them to do it open because of the model in terms of how we're working.
But ideally, with a renovation, you can
Ideally,
have all these work,
we'd have-
because in the best case scenario, you can have this, and you can close it, and that happens all the time at our
Yep,
school.
absolutely.
All the time. Yeah.
I would definitely want those classical walls again to work, but they're not safe right now to keep moving.
Yep.
So
that's again another thing that's kind of hindering the educational process where we want it to be. It's something that's blocking up, you know, current practice. So I think we've covered everything. The rooms, to get to the rooms, the dilapidated fixtures, bathrooms and furniture, the air quality, the lack of space for programming, you know, lighting. Any other questions?
thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you so much.